I'm Cody Lavoie.
Hi, Cody. Nice to meet you.
Me too. What's your name?
Ken Johnston.
Ken Johnston. All right, we have a few questions for you today, Ken Johnston. And I guess first question is, where were you born?
I was born right here in Michigan, up in Frankfort. Do you know where that's at?
No, I do not.
It's up by Traverse City.
City, okay.
I didn't grow up there, but that's where I was born. They found me under a log.
What branch did you serve in, and what exactly did you do when you served?
Well, having been in for 22 years, it kind of spreads it out. But I was actually in the Air Force, but I spent most of my time with the Army. I worked at Fort Bragg, and I was primarily a helicopter pilot, but then I got into planning missions and that kind of stuff. And when you get higher in rank, you don't get to fly that much anymore.
Wow, sounds kind of exciting. What were you doing before you entered the service?
I was working in a factory here in Muskegon for a few months, and prior to that, I was just going to college.
Michael Alexander.
Michael, nice to meet you.
You too. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
It's interesting. Actually, my career, and I probably should have started there, when I got out of the high school, I went into the Air Force, and I was a fireman for 2 years, 8 months, and 17 days. Then I got out, and I stayed in the National Guard and worked out of Battle Creek while I went to college. Then when I graduated college is when I got the job in Muskegon and then went on to go back into the Air Force.
If you enlisted, why did you choose the Air Force?
Primarily because I had a friend who was in the Air Force. He had joined and it was working for him, so he kind of led me in that direction, and I got in. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Great, Cody.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you guys. See you later.
Go first.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm not sure how to do this. So,
Hi, I'm Ken Johnston.
I'm Shorty. Morning.
Shorty, nice to meet you.
I have a few questions to ask you.
Sure.
Alright. Where did you serve when you were in the military?
You know, once again, having been in for 22 years, I served in a lot of places. Do you want me to go through them all?
If you'd like to.
Okay. I started out, they sent me to basic training down in Texas, at San Antonio, Texas. I got out of there. I went to Chanute Air Force Base in Illinois, got some training in how to be a fireman there. Then I went up to Wartsmith Air Force Base, which is up by Alpena, Michigan. I was there about a year. Then I went to Alaska, where I spent a year there. Then I got out and I was stationed in Indiana, Kokomo, Indiana.
Alright.
And then I did my National Guard time out of Battle Creek. When I went back in, I went back to San Antonio for some more training. Then I went to pilot school at Fort Rucker, Alabama. From there, more pilot school at Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico. From there, I went to Cheyenne, Wyoming, Francis E. Warren Air Force Base, where I flew Hueys. From there, I went to Hawaii. From Hawaii, I went to Fort Walton Beach, Florida. From Fort Walton Beach, I went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. From there, I went to Marine Corps Command and Staff College at Quantico, Virginia. Then I went back to Hawaii. And then my final assignment was in Tucson, Arizona.
Throughout all the places you've served in, how did you stay in touch with your family and friends back at home?
It was, you know, primarily phone. You know, it was before email was real popular most of my career. So we did mostly by phone, and I didn't have a lot of people that I kept in contact with. My grandmother was probably the only one.
Alright, one last question.
Sure.
What did you do for recreation or when you were off duty?
I did a little of everything. Let me think. What was my primary thing I did? Well, when I was in Hawaii, I went to the beach a lot. That was a good thing to do. When I was in Wyoming, I did a lot of hunting and boating and down in Florida and that kind of thing. So whatever was and the major thing to do in that local area is what I ended up doing.
All right.
Okay.
Jeff,
Hi, Jeff. Nice to meet you.
me too. I'm gonna have a couple questions. Where were you when the war ended, or what you were doing at the time?
I was involved in special ops. Does a lot of things that people don't hear about, and I was involved in a lot of those type of missions. The two primary things I was in was the invasion of Panama, where we went down and got Noriega. I was involved in that, and then I was in Desert Storm, and that was in, we were stationed in Saudi Arabia, about 10 miles from the Iraqi border. So,
Pretty cool.
yeah, it was a good experience.
Have you remained in contact with or united with fellow veterans? If so, who?
You know, from the group that I served with and my friends while I was in, I've talked to a couple on in the last 15 years, and they have veterans here in the area who are my friends first. They just happen to be
Right.
become my friends.
How were you received by your family?
We came in the desert. We flew into a base on the East Coast, and they had lots of people there. It was like a little ceremony and stuff. It was really nice to come back to that. So it was all well received. Unlike the Vietnam era veterans who came back to nothing, I think they took note of that and really did a good job in welcoming us back. For instance, they gave me a free hotel room there in that town, and they gave me a free plane ride from that town back down to North Carolina where I needed to go, and I was really quite amazed by that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Robert.
What up?
What up? All right.
I'm gonna have a few questions for you today.
Sure.
So, first off, how did your wartime experiences affect your life?
You know, we trained at such a high level that going to war was like easy compared to the training. So, what I learned was to be prepared and have your ducks all in a row, and the rest of your life will be easy. And I've tried to take some of that out into my life today, that I try to keep all my stuff in a small bag, and then life is pretty easy. If you don't have your stuff together, life will continue to be hard for you.
Right.
Yep.
Another question, what are some of the lessons you learned from the military service?
You know, the number one thing that sticks with me on that is being on time. Like, I am still, you know, plus or minus 2 minutes is the standard. If you're beyond that, you need to make a phone call and say, hey, I'm going to be late, and if you're early, you just pull off the side of the road and park someplace and wait to get there. So timeliness is one of the things. The other thing is that there are things in life that suck that you got to do, so you just bow your neck and go get them done, and wait, and then you can go shopping, you know?
Right.
Yep.
All right, last question, is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed or should have added to this interview? If so, what?
You know, I think a good thing to ask each and every veteran would be to have them tell you, like I did these first guys, about where I was at, because that'll jog their memory to
Right.
think about things they wouldn't think about otherwise.
Right.
You know, then you can take that and you can go on. Dang, well, how was Hawaii? You know, was that cool being over there? You know, you can ask those type of questions, which will establish a bonding with the person you're interviewing. You know, try to free them up so that they talk, that you're just not asking questions. You know, say, you know, when they start on something, don't let it end. Just
Right.
use that as a transition right into something else, and work your question into that.
All right,
All right?
well, thank you.
You're welcome.